Hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing the rescission of contract. It is chapter 4 of Specific Relief Act, right? It covers from section 27 to 30, right? Let's discuss them. So the party who is interested in a contract, okay, he can get the contract rescinded, okay, and the court will grant the rescission of the contract in two cases. What are those two cases? Is when the contract is voidable or terminable by the plaintiff, means it is an option upon the plaintiff to get the contract done void, right? Because it is voidable, and it is terminable. It is terminable at the option of the plaintiff. So in this case, the court can grant the rescission of contract. Okay. Second is contract is unlawful for causes not apparent on its face. So the contract is unlawful, right? And you cannot perform an unlawful contract, and in that case also the contract can be rescinded. The court may refuse to rescind the contract in following cases, right? So the court can refuse to grant rescission in these four cases, right? What are those cases? The first is the plaintiff has ratified the contract. So if the plaintiff has himself approved the contract, then in that case the court will not grant the relief of rescission, and in that case the court will refuse. Okay, okay. We're going to change in circumstances is making of the contract. Parties cannot be restored to its original position. So let's take an example to understand this. There are two people, let's say A and B. They contract ki bhai, let's sell alcohol, right? They both contributed 50 lakh, right? And they both decided let's sell alcohol. Okay, right? They buy a stock, okay, stock of alcohol worth 1 cr. Okay, they bought, right? But the next day only the alcohol got banned. Okay, now because of the change in circumstances, they have already bought the stock of 1 crore, right? Now the circumstances change. Now the alcohol is banned. Now they cannot sell it, right? So in this case, if we rescind the contract, let's say if he files a suit to rescind this contract, the whole loss of 1 crore, okay, have to be faced by B itself, right? Because the contract is rescinded, right? So in this case we will not allow the contract to be rescinded, and both A and B have to face the loss of 50 lakhs each, right? They both have to face the loss, will not rescind the contract in such case. Okay, and the third party have acquired rights in good faith without notice and for value. So if the third party interest is created, then in that case we will not allow to rescind the contract. Okay, in such case where the court will refuse. Okay, and where the parties are sought to rescind part of a contract. So if the party files a suit, okay, for the part rescission of a contract, right? Part rescission means the contract is not rescinded as a whole, but it is rescinded in part, right? In that case, if the part is not severable from the rest of the contract, then will not grant the rescission of contract. Okay, so if the part is not severable from the whole of the contract, then in that case we will not allow the contract to be rescinded. Okay, this is what section 27 is. So in totality, what it is saying, that we will grant rescission of the contract in two cases: when the contract is terminable by plaintiff and the contract has become unlawful. Okay, in these cases we will allow the rescission of contract. In 4 cases we will not allow the rescission of contract. And what are those 4 cases? That the contract has been approved by the plaintiff, where due to change in circumstances the party cannot be restored back to its original position. That the third thing is that the third party interest is created. And the fourth is that part of contract has the party has filed the suit that so that the part of the contract can be rescinded, but that part is not severable from the whole of the contract. So in that case we will not allow the rescission of the contract. Okay, this is what section 27 is all about. Now let's start with section 28. Okay, so what section 28 is saying is that there is a contract. Okay, so there is a contract, and that contract is for sale or lease of immovable property. Okay, so the contract is for sale or lease of immovable property, and the plaintiff files a suit for specific performance of the contract, right? The contract is for sale and lease of immovable property, and the plaintiff files suit for its specific performance, and the court in that suit grants a specific performance. Okay, the specific performance is granted, but what happened? The purchaser, right? The purchaser or the lessee, so basically the person who is buying that immovable property or the person who has taken the property on lease, okay, within the period allowed by the decree, they do not pay the purchase money or the other money as directed by the court. So court has directed them to pay the purchase money or the certain amount, but they do not pay that amount. In that case, what will happen? The vendor or the seller, the seller or the lessor, basically the lessor may apply in the same suit, उसी सूट में they can apply, ठीक है, in which the decree is made to have the contract rescinded. So in that same suit they can apply, they can file an application and get that contract rescinded because the purchaser lessee has not paid the amount as directed by the court. Getting my point? Okay. 28. So what it is saying, when the contract is rescinded under section 28(1), the court, so when the contract is rescinded, ठीक है, because why it is rescinded? Because the purchaser lessee has not paid the money as directed by the court, correct? So in such case, what will happen? The court can also court will do equity. How it will do is the court will direct the purchaser or lessee to restore the possession or possession to vendor or lessor if he has obtained the possession. So if he has obtained the possession of immovable property, who has obtained? The purchaser lessee. Let's say if they have obtained the possession, the court will ask them to restore it back to the vendor or lessor. Okay. And the second thing, the court may direct the payment of what? The rents and profits. To whom? To vendor or lessor, ठीक है, accrued from the date of possession until restoration. So the second thing which the court will grant, right, is that the court will ask whom? The purchaser or lessee, okay, to pay to whom? To pay rent and profit to vendor or lessor, ठीक है, from which date to which date? From the date the purchaser or lessee got the possession till the time they restored back that possession to the vendor or lessor. ओके. सो उस टाइम पीरियड के भी जो भी प्रॉफिट्स और रेंट्स अक्रू होंगे वो उन्हें रिस्टोर बैक करना पड़ेगा टू वेंडर और लेसर. This is what 28(2) is. 28(3) talks says that if the purchaser or lessee pays the purchase money or other sum which he is ordered to pay, the court may on application made in the same suit grant following relief. So if in these two cases the purchaser or lessee fails to pay the amount, right? But 28(3) says if let's say they pay the amount or the sum which is directed by the court to be paid to the vendor or lessor, in that case what court will grant to the purchaser or lessee? The court will grant that the execution of proper conveyance or lease by vendor lessor. So the court will grant them that they grant proper formalization of a document, right? Court will grant that the sale deed to be registered, or if there is a lease deed that is to be registered, right? The proper formalization, right? Once that is done, once that all is done, right, the proper conveyance and the proper formalization is done, the court will give them possession. Who? To purchaser or lessee of that immovable property because they had paid the money, correct? Or if the property is in joint ownership, the court will ask the court will partition that property, right, and give the separate possession of that property to the purchaser or lessee. Okay, in that case. And the other thing is no separate suit for claiming any relief under this section. So you cannot file separate suit. Okay, any relief you want under 28(2) or 28(3), you cannot file separate suits, right? In this scenario also they have said vendor or lessee may apply in the same suit to have that contract rescinded. तो इधर भी आप जो हो सेम सूट में ही अप्लाई कर रहे हो, and when the purchaser or lessee has paid the purchase money, in that same suit only the person is applying, ठीक है, in that same suit the person is applying to get the proper conveyance and also to get the possession of that property in that same suit only, right? So no separate suit is filed. Okay, and the cost of proceeding shall be in the discretion of the court. So the court will decide that who will pay the cost of the proceedings. So which party will pay that is in the discretion of the court. Okay, this is what section 28 is. Let's discuss the section 29. Section 29 is clearly saying that the person who is instituting the suit for specific performance, okay, so the plaintiff in its plaint, the plaint he is submitting in the court, in that plaint he can pray to the court that if that contract if that contract cannot be specifically enforced. Which contract? The contract for which the person is आस्किंग फॉर द स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस, राइट. उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को अगर आप कोर्ट ऑर्डर नहीं कर सकता कि वो स्पेसिफिकली परफॉर्म हो जाए, तो उस केस में आप उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को रिसेंड कर दो. ठीक है, दिस इज़ व्हाट कैन डू. और वो किस ग्राउंड्स पे रिसेंड होगा ये ऑलरेडी हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. ठीक है, तो इसमें सिंपल सी चीज़ ये है कि जो पर्सन सूट इंस्टीट्यूट कर रहा है वो कोर्ट को बोल सकता है कि भाई या तो आप स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस ग्रांट कर दो, और आप वो नहीं कर सकते हो तो वो ये प्रे कर सकता है कि भाई आप उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को रिसेंड कर दो. ठीक है, दिस इज़ व्हाट सेक्शन 29 इज़. ठीक है, अब हम जो है सेक्शन 30 डिस्कस करेंगे. सेक्शन 30 क्या कहता है कि जब भी कोर्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट को रिसेंड करेगा वो इक्विटी करेगा. ठीक है, इक्विटी करेगा मतलब अगर कोई पार्टी जो है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रिसेंड हो गया है, ठीक है, बट वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो अब रिसेंड हो गया, कैंसिल हो गया, बट उसने कोई अनजस्ट बेनिफिट इन्जॉय किए थे. ठीक है, कुछ अनजस्ट बेनिफिट इन्जॉय किए थे, तो वह उस पार्टी को बोलेगा, दैट अदर पार्टी, कि भाई उसको रिस्टोर करे जितने भी बेनिफिट्स हैं. ठीक है, जितने भी बेनिफिट्स उसने इन्जॉय किए वो रिस्टोर करे टू होम, टू द अदर पार्टी. ठीक है, दिस इज़ व्हाट सेक्शन 30 इज़. ठीक है, and I will attach this PDF in the description so you can read it from there also. Okay, thank you so much.